Today we're talking about borders, boundaries, borders, and what that means in this little lecture. Because right now, activity, activist, being active, activism, it seems like we've lost our way when it comes to the word activism. You see, people don't realize that Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Jesus, Yahshua the Messiah, they were active, sometimes advocates, but without borders. You see, activist means one who campaigns to bring political or social change. An advocate is a person who publicly supports or recommends a particular cause or policy. You see, politicians, elected officials have boundaries. Advocates, depending on what they are advocating for, have boundaries. Activists, just like in some cases for advocates, feel like they're doing God's work. No boundaries, no borders. Like I say, with that being said, real activism knows no borders because, again, Honorable Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said, an injustice anywhere is an injustice everywhere. And an activist is active to make change for everybody. Case in point, if we look at the map in front of us, the city of East Cleveland, when it had the most corrupt officials, we knew in East Cleveland, whether we lived in Cleveland at the time I did, and other places, I had to take part in the East Cleveland recall, which led to Ernest L. Smith becoming the East Cleveland president of city council. Juanita Gowdy, Corinne Stevenson, who I've worked with. Corinne Stevenson is the vice president of city council. Juanita Gowdy. But we knew we had to do the recall and help out. We also knew that the red light camera, speed light camera traps in East Cleveland, Maple Heights were not legal because they're unconstitutional. So we had to get rid of them because if they were not unconstitutional, you would know that you would be facing a judge rather than a hearing court officer where you can't legally question why you received those tickets. The city of Euclid, when Richard Hubbard III was beat down, UFC MMA style, months after Luke Stewart was murdered by the Euclid Police Department, whether I was in Cleveland or not, we had to go down there, all hands on deck, because we had to handle that. The illegal dump in East Cleveland, the marches, the rallies, the attention from the media, all hands on deck because we knew it was killing citizens in East Cleveland as well as Cleveland and surrounding suburbs. Going down to Columbus several times to deal with what is happening down there, state law, legislature, you name it. Looking at Dayton, Ohio, where Sierra and Dee, excellent advocates from Black Lives Matter, Cleveland, the activist group, have solicited our help to go down there because they advocate for children. And we'll be down there with them in Dayton. Trumbull County, we were asked to be a part of some of the proceedings down there. Why? Because as I keep watch over our map, in Trumbull County, you have a person who was definitely within the borderlines once again. Jamar King, wrongly convicted. Activism has no boundaries. When it comes to gender, I definitely am a brother, a man, male, however you want to say it. But Women's March International, I've pulled petitions the past couple of years. People like myself, Art McCoy, and Don Bryant stood up to back up the women. When it came to that, sometimes I'm not a parent, but that's not my boundary. I have to, for activism, stand up for the children. Stand up to help parents who are having problems with their children. DCFS, no matter what. Joining with Fathers Lives Matter. You name it. Hip Hop Workshop, providing through activism clean material for others to use. to be able to see that there's a message to help get the message out. Again, activism knows no boundaries. Palestine. I may not be Palestinian, but Brother Don Bryant made sure I spoke and correlated a storyline between 700 plus Palestinians between the occupying force in Gaza and the same occupying force that chased down 137 shots into Timothy Russell and Melissa Williams. People in the Ukraine fighting the Russians. Brother Alex E.R. got us in contact with them, and they even called our Core radio show to thank us for at least giving them the spirit to stand up for themselves. Again, activism knows no borders. Change the name, change the logo. Joining with Dr. Dorothy, Terry Tollfree, Don Bryant, and many others, Brother Zizway, because we know the Atlanta Braves, if they were named the Atlanta Slaves, there'd be an uprising. You know, Cleveland, come on, really with Wahoo? Activism, real activism, knows no borders or no boundaries. Thank you very much. I hope I've been able to explain that there's nothing wrong with being an advocate. I've been an advocate for certain things, but as an activist, it means an injustice anywhere is an injustice everywhere, not just one specific field. Man in the street, Sal Porter. Peace.